All right, Tyson-san, I am going to bring you on stage. Hello, Tyson.
Hey, hi, Tak. How are you?
I'm good. All right, ladies and gentlemen watching on YouTube and Facebook, just a quick reminder that you guys can communicate with us through the chats that you see in the comment section that you see on your platforms throughout the session, So talk with us, interact with us, and we will be, we'll try to get to your comments and questions as soon as we can. But as we do that, we are going to be here are the other people too. Kubo-san and Steve is also here as well. You guys are all live. Say hello to your Facebook and YouTube community as we kind of celebrate. We are actually past the halfway point of our 24-hour marathon now. So here we go. But yeah, with that said, we are here to introduce some startups and the Canadian ecosystem in the sports industry and sports world with our friends at JETRO as well. So Tyson, I guess you guys are leading this off right now.
Yeah, sure. I can sort of take over a little bit and then but jump in anytime you want if you have any questions or anything like that. So.
Sounds good. And again, the audience members watching, please feel free to post a comment and we'll try to pick those up as soon as possible. With that said, Tyson, the stage is yours and let's enjoy this next hour.
Great, thank you. So my name is Tyson Garvey and I work for Japan External Trade Organization, otherwise known as JETRO, in the Toronto office. And my colleague here, Keiichi Kubo, we work together helping Canadian companies get into the Japanese market. And one of the companies we've been supporting, Soundpays, the CEO, Steve Doswell, is here as well, and he'll be speaking later about his company. And so what I thought we could do is, it might be a little bit more formal than some of the other sessions you've had, but just talk a little bit about what JETRO is and what we're doing here. And Kubo-san has a presentation he can do in Japanese, explain a little about the innovation ecosystems across Canada. A lot of people listening may not know too much about Canada and what's happening here. Then I have a quick presentation to highlight some sports tech, companies. And then we'll finish with Steve talking about his company Soundpays and the really exciting activities in Japan right now. So maybe if I can start to share my screen quickly. One second. Hold on, it always takes a bit of time here.
You got it. You're all good.
Yeah, I go here. I think I can. There we go. There we go.
There we go. I see
you can see that? Yeah.
There we go. We're adding it to the screen.
Great.
And full screen mode. You good to go? Yeah, there you go. Good. We see it move.
Perfect. Great. So as I said, the Japan External Trade Organization, we're actually under the Ministry of Economy, Trade and Industry. We're basically Japanese government, but we're a semi-independent government agency. So we're one step removed from the government, but basically we do work for the Japanese government. We have a bunch of different mandates. Innovation promotion is one of our key focuses, and I'm going to explain a little bit more about that in a moment. But we also help Japanese SME exporters to go abroad. In Canada, probably our greatest achievement is bringing good Japanese sake into the Canadian market. I quite enjoy that, the byproduct of our efforts. We also do a lot of research. We've actually done a lot of research on the innovation ecosystems across Canada, doing reports, new technologies, and just basically trying to find business opportunities for Japanese companies in the Canadian market. Quite a large organization. We have 74 offices around the world. In Canada, we do have 8 staff here in Toronto. We have an office in Vancouver and also a liaison in Montreal. So they speak French there, so we need French support. And we also work closely with our US offices. So obviously San Francisco, New York, LA, huge ecosystems, even Chicago. And we work together connecting to a lot of the Japanese companies that are based in the US as well, who are looking for innovation here in Canada. And then we also have offices across Japan. Every prefecture, we basically have an office working with local governments and helping Japanese SMEs. So in terms of the main activities that we're doing here in Toronto, though, Kubo-san and I particularly, we're helping Japanese startups who want to come into the Canadian market. We're helping Canadian companies who want to set up a physical entity in Japan, so it's foreign direct investment promotion. And in this case, probably today, the main focus is open innovation. So as everybody's aware, many Japanese companies are looking to find new innovation by partnering with startups around the world. We try to provide opportunities for Japanese companies to connect to startups. And then eventually they might go to Japan and set up there, so we can support them there as well. Just some activities done recently. There's quite a large conference called Collision that was in June. Of course, last year was physical, this year was virtual. But on the sort of the J startup side, we helped 10 Japanese startups to get to the conference and even helped some other ones to join in. But we did B2B meetings for them and give them an opportunity. And hopefully some of them, we have some interest from Japanese startups, especially in the AI field, who are actually interested in setting up in Canada, because there's a lot of AI talent here and a lot of AI partner companies that they can work with. These are some companies that we've supported, for Canadian companies specifically, and some very interesting companies like Nubo, an IoT company, Loop. They are sort of a shared scooter service, and so forth. So we're focusing more and more on innovative startups. In the past, we were looking for bigger companies, but part of this innovation mandate is we really want to help innovative startups such as like Soundpays and so forth to get into the Japanese market and bring new technology and innovation into the market there. For the open innovation side, we have a series called Generating Innovation with Japan, GIJ. We've been doing this for about 2 years now. We've done it in Montreal, Toronto, Waterloo, Edmonton, and Vancouver. And Kubo-san may explain a little bit more about some of these ecosystems, but there's a lot of startups. We've had at least between 40 to 50 to over 100 startups in the room for each event. We've had companies like Japan Rail, Mizuho Bank, SMBC Bank. We've had some NTT Data, Hitachi. And recently we started focusing also some health tech events. So we would focus more on pharmaceutical companies. So we had companies like Dainippon Sumitomo, Keiichi Pharmaceutical, and going forward, we're looking for doing another health tech one in Vancouver, another one in Toronto, probably focused on COVID-19 technologies, especially such as like the social distancing sort of technology or tracing apps, things like that. And then we'll see maybe some other regional ones as well. And we do case by case individual companies, big Japanese companies come to us, say, we want these innovation technologies. Can you help us find some interesting startups? So we'll use our network for that. So that's basically a quick overview of what we're doing. And we'll stop sharing. And then Kubo-san can spend a little bit more time to explain a bit more detail about what's happening here on the innovation side at the broad level.
Okay. Thank you, タイさん。皆さん、こんにちは。こんにちはというか、おはようございますですね。こちらは今、夕方の5時なんですけど、皆さんにとって朝6時で早朝の時間だと思うんですけれども、私はタイさんから紹介してもらった久保と申します。自分でですね、日本からカナダから日本への、進出のですね、サポートする会社を経営しながら、今、JETROで、アドバイザーという形で働いておりますので、今回ですね、多分皆さんにとってカナダっていう国は、すごく親しみがあるとは思うんですけれども、どういった実際にですね、スタートアップエコシステムに関して言うとどんな状況なのかっていう話を、ちょっとご説明させていただければなと思います。画面って今見れてますでしょうか？
見えてます。
はい、じゃあすみません。
はい、よろしくお願いします。
はい、ありがとうございます。もともとの、カナダという国に関しても皆さんもちろん知ってると思うんですけど、地理的に言うとですね、皆さんご想像の通り、日本の27倍もあるような非常に大きな国でして、西の端から東の端でタイムゾーンがですね、6つもあると、6時間も時差があるといったような国になります。で、人口に関して言うとですね、3800万人の人口で、G7 でですね、ナンバーワンの伸びです。このナンバーワンの伸びの理由なんですけども、毎年約人口のですね、1% ぐらい、35万人ずつぐらいですね、移民を受けて入れてまして、そのため、先進国、非常に成熟した当然国ではあるんですけれども、人口も伸びていると。人口の増加にですね、伴って、経済成長の方もですね、ステディにですね、安定的に非常に伸びている国になります。で、国全体では1800万人の人口、日本の大体4分の1ぐらいの人口、3分の1から4分の1の人口になるんですけど、都市別で見てみるとですね、私の今住んでいるトロントという町はですね、北米で実は3位ぐらい、シカゴよりも大きいような町になって おります。町としては相当、東京とかに比べれば当然ちっちゃいんですけれども、皆さんが思ってらっしゃるよりもですね、トロント、カナダで最大の都市、トロントっていうのは非常に大きい町になります。で、ただ大きいだけじゃなくてですね、人口増加率もですね、著しくてですね、今トロントですね、7万7千人のですね、人間を過去2ヶ月で、受け入れていると。で、これは北米でなんですけれども、2位、3位、4位と、その3つの町を足した人間の数よりもですね、移住してきている人たちが多いという状況になっています。で、これはさっき申し上げたみたいにですね、移民を受け入れているということが非常に大きい理由になっているのと、あとはアメリカのですね、トランプ政権の政策といいますかね、状況によって、北米で働きたい優秀な人たちが、アメリカちょっとなかなかビザも取れないんで、日本にっていうこともあって、移民の人が多い結果ですね、トロント、カナダ最大の都市のトロントはですね、住民の半分以上が外国生まれ、で230もの民族が暮らしているといったような、なかなか世界一というのが、クライテリアが難しいとは思うんですけれども、BBC の調査ではですね、世界一の多様性を誇る街だと言われているような国になります。で、カナダ全体のですね、概況をお分かりいただいたかと思うんですけど、なぜ今、ある意味スタートアップの世界、経済的なところで注目されているのかというのをお話しさせていただきたいんですが、日本のこの最近のですね、新聞だったり、ウェブメディアのですね、スクリーンをキャプチャーしたものなんですけども、日経新聞はじめ、フォーブス、ニュースピックスみたいなところでも、AI っていうキーワードでですね、かなり今特集をされてきて、非常に注目が上がっております。で、上がってる理由いくつかあるんですけど、まず一つご紹介したい理由としてはですね、政府がですね、カナダ政府が2017年ですね、17年にスーパークラスター構想ということで、州でですね、分けて、それぞれ州の得意な産業をですね、向かって左側の西海岸の方であれば、デジタルテクノロジーのスーパークラスターと。大西洋側の方だったらオーシャンスーパークラスターだと、トロントだったらマニファクチャリングだといったようなところで、それぞれの、領域でですね、それぞれの地域でこの領域に絞って、中小企業、スタートアップだったりというところに政府としてもですね、5年間で800億円のお金を費やして、雇用を生み出そうと、経済成長をしていこうというようなことで、政府がですね、かなり、積極的なですね、突っ込んだお金をしていった。そこからお金が回ることによって、カナダのですね、今エコシステム、経済がすごくうまく回ってきているという理由があります。これが一つと、もう一個の理由なんですけども、カナダっていう国がですね、なかなかやっぱり皆さん北米で言うとどうしてもアメリカが行ってしまうと思うんですけれども、コスト的な面でですね、投資コストとしてですね、これは KPMG の調査、10カ国のですね、工業国を調査した調査結果になるんですけれども、労働力ですね、人件費、設備費、あとトランスポーテーションですね、運送費だとか、そういったようなところで、工業国10カ国の中でも、2位、3位といったような入る形で、投資コストが非常に割安であると。なので、外資を非常に呼び込んでいて、それに伴って雇用も増えているという状況にあります。税金面に関しましてもですね、法人税なんですけど、特に R&D 分野に関して政府の支援が手厚くてですね、アメリカが 39%、日本が 37% の法人税、がかかるところですね、カナダは 26% といったようなことで、イギリスとか、そういう欧米のですね、欧州のですね、法人税の安い国に比するですね、非常に低い法人税になっています。で、人材コストに関してもですね、安いとは言いたくはないんですけれども、下の赤い丸で囲っているトロント、バンクーバーが、当然そうなんですが、右軸にですね、レーバークオリティですね、労働力の質、で、縦軸に、そのコストと見たときにですね、皆さん親しみのある、シリコンバレーとかはですね、当然、労働力の質もよくいいんですが、コストがすごく高くてですね、その下のニューヨーク、ボストンなんかにも比べても、トロント、バンクーバーはですね、シリコンバレーの約半分、ニューヨーク、ボストンの約6割といったような人件費で、安いというよりも非常にいいクオリティのレイバーがですね、安いコストで得られるという、お得という言い方はあれなのかもしれないですけど、そこのマーケットにですね、魅力を感じてですね、Facebook や Google だといったようなところもどんどん拠点をオープンしているというのが今、カナダマーケットの現状になります。 で、今日のちょっと本題のですね、スタートアップのエコシステムのご紹介をしたいんですけれども、グローバルに見たときにカナダってどの位置にあるのかと言いますと、スタートアップブリンクのランキングですと、去年3位だったので一つ順位は落としてしまいましたが、イギリス、アメリカ、イギリス、イスラエルに次いで4位という位置を占めるようなですね、エコシステムを誇っておりまして、先ほど申し上げたカナダ最大の都市のトロントとその隣町のウォータールーというところではですね、約5000のスタートアップと、80を超えるイノベーションハブアクセラレーターがある町です。で、特にご紹介したいのが、この、トロントウォーターコリドーと呼ばれるところでして、ここにはですね、25万人以上のテックワーカー、1万5000社以上のテクノロジー企業がですね、ガッと集っておりまして、シリコンバレーに次ぐですね、北米で第2位のですね、テクノロジークラスターと言われるような規模に、現在もなってますし、まだまだ成長しているという状況です。で、なんでこんなにですね、急成長しているのかというとですね、私の方でちょっと3つ大きく理由を挙げさせていただいたんですが、1つの理由はですね、ユニバーシティオブトロント、あとユニバーシティオブウォータールーというですね、それぞれコンピューターサイエンスだったり AI の領域でですね、世界的な強みを持つ、大学がですね、非常にやっぱりですね、人材を引きつけて優秀な人材をですね、供給をしているんですね。で、その人材を目当てに Facebook だ IBM だと、マイクロソフトだというところの企業が集まってきて、産学共同による、ウィンウィンのイノベーションがどんどん起きていると。で、それを先ほどのスーパークラスター構想でもないですが、カナダの連邦政府から州、市のレベルまでですね、行政側の方も非常にお金を突っ込んで、研究機関だったり、イノベーションセンターだったりを作ってやってると。いうことで、大学が人見、民間企業もお金をそこに突っ込み、で政府としてもそれを支援していくという、その歯車が今非常にうまく回っているためにですね、カナダ、トロントが成長していると言えると思います。で、ちょっとカナダのスタートアップ、もちろん例外もあるんであれなんですが、特徴を申し上げますとですね、カナダ、先ほど申し上げたみたいに3800万人ぐらいの人口になりますので、B2C だとどうしてもアメリカに負けてしまうので、B2B ですね、の方が強みがあります。で、B2B の方にカナダ企業強みがあって、で、それで横展開、グローバルに展開していくというカナダのスタートアップの戦略を取る場合が多く、また大企業、人口も少ないというところもありまして、大企業、例えば AI の領域でも Google、Facebook に対抗していこうというよりは、カナダの例えばですけど、地理的な特徴で言えば、自動運転の仕組みに関しても、例えばじゃあ雪道だとか、険しい山道における、データを取得しようとか、そこにおける、自動運転の画像処理の技術を作ろうといったようなところで、ある部分に特化したところに強みを持つっていうのが、カナダのスタートアップの特徴になります。それでIPO ですね、やっぱり上場して IPO してエグジットとするというよりも、ある特定の技術に強みがありますので、先ほども言いましたように、Google がこの技術が欲しいっつって、その会社をバイアウトしてやっていくと。M&A によるエグジットが多いというのも、カナダのスタートアップの特徴になると思います。で、代表的なですね、インキュベーター、アクセラレーター、あと、これご覧になっていらっしゃる方でですね、日本でスポーツテックのスタートアップをやってらっしゃって、カナダのインキュベーターと組みたいとか、カナダのですね、スタートアップと組みたいといったようなときに、今60ぐらいトロントで言えばですね、インキュベーター、アクセラレーターがあるんですけれども、代表的なものをちょっといくつかご紹介すると、MARS というですね、2000年に設立された、ですね、アーリーステージですね、シードステージからのスタートアップを支援するですね、イノベーションハブがあるんですけれども、こちらがですね、世界最大級のですね、イノベーションハブの一つとなってまして、日系企業さんもですね、数多くパートナーのメンバーとして名前を連ねていらっしゃいます。で、もう一個ご紹介したのが DMG というところになりまして、こちらのライアソンという大学発のですね、アクセラレーターとしてはですね、世界一の規模を誇るところになります。で、皆さんに知名度が高いもので言うと、プランガダンプレイですね。プランガダンプレイもですね、カナダでですね、オープンするということのリリースがですね、6月にありまして、いよいよやっぱりカナダの方への注目が高まってですね、どんどんその世界的なですね、プレイヤーが集まってきている状況になります。で、直接的に今日皆さん、聞いてらっしゃる皆さんにひょっとしたら関係性が高いもの で言うとですね、北米に進出したい日本のスタートアップさんに役立つプログラムとしては、例えばその先ほど申し上げた DMG というところがですね、北米進出のために2週間の集中プログラム、研修トレーニングプログラムですね。このプログラムに、US ドルで1万ドルの参加費になるんですけども、参加すると、北米のですね、スタートアップだったり、そのメンターだったりを紹介してくれたり、ビジネスマッチングをしてくれたり、北米でどうやって生きていけばいいのかっていうところのノウハウを教えてくれる、そういったようなプログラムがあるので、もし皆さんご関心があれば、調べていただければと思いますし、もう一個 R&D の方でカナダ企業と組みたいんだということであれば、マイタックスというところの非営利団体になるんですけれども、カナダの60の大学と組んでですね、民間企業が研究開発をすると。その時にカナダ政府としてそのお金の半分を支援するよといったようなことで、こちらはカナダの大学の場合、なんですかね、すごく真剣にというか、本当にプロジェクトの一員として、即戦力としてですね、研究開発の方に使えるような人材が非常に豊富にいますので、これも、多くの日本企業さんの方でこちらにいらっしゃって一緒に研究開発をしているという事例が多くありますので、もし、特定の領域でですね、研究開発カナダの人間としたいということがあればですね、ぜひこちらもですね、ご参考いただければと思います。ちょっと駆け足になりましたが、以上です。冒頭に申し上げました通り、カナダなかなか、皆さんにとっては遠い存在といいますか、スタートアップの世界でもあまり馴染みがないかもしれないですけども、今もう世界的な注目を向けてますし、非常に何ですか、ある種のトレンドというか、ブームになっているところになりますので、カナダに進出したいはもちろんですし、カナダのスタートアップと組みたいという話があればですね、ぜひお問い合わせ、私なりタイソンなりにお問い合わせをいただければなと思います。以上です。ありがとうございます。
Hey, thank you, Kubo-san. Yeah, it's a great way to sort of set the information that I'm going to present, which is more focused on sports tech. Just to understand what, how much innovation is coming out of Canada right now. And just to give you an idea, this collision show, which was for the Japanese companies that I mentioned, the Canadian government, the Ontario government, and JETRO invited companies to, Japanese companies, large Japanese companies, from Toyota to Hitachi, the venture capital firms, and there must have been at least 40 companies that attended. I know it's virtual, so it's easier than it would be if it's a physical event. But I think many Japanese companies realize now that there's a lot of innovation here out of the Canadian market. So this is a great opportunity. So in sports tech, I'm JETRO. We cover all sectors. So I'm not specifically a sports tech person, but we do help a number of companies, startups and other companies that are in the sports tech field. So I wanted to highlight some interesting sports technology that might be of interest. These companies are probably interested. I know some of them are interested in getting into the Japanese market. Some are already in the Japanese market. And there's a lot more. So I'm also going to have a few sort of links where people can maybe find more information going forward. So let me just share my screen again. It's coming up.
Yep, here we go. We got a comment saying people are super interested in it. So
yeah, and of course, this is the reason for this is on sports tech because of the unfortunate cancellation of the Olympic Games. I know in the news this morning, people were talking about it as well. It's a sad occasion, but we have another year. Hopefully, by next year we'll be on. And in the meantime, it'll give chance for more tech companies to get their products, to the Olympics. So, I just want to give a brief overview of the major sports. People probably don't know too much what's happening in Canada, but the key point here is that a lot of our sports is not necessarily that Canadian focused. So, the major sports that are teams that are here, a lot of the big stadiums, a lot of the activities here are based in sort of the US leagues. So, for example, probably people may have heard about the Toronto Raptors because they won the NBA last year, still defending champions just about. But basically, it's the only Canadian team in the NBA. So they're basically Canada's team. There was a team in Vancouver for a short time. And the same with baseball. Toronto Blue Jays, the only team. So people play baseball here, but in terms of watching, in terms of all the business side of it, it's very U.S. focused. Even the NHL. I mean, originally it was a Canadian league. There are 7 Canadian teams now, but expanded into the U.S. So it's really a North American hockey league. Other even Major League Soccer, there are 3 Canadian teams in that. They play, obviously they play usually during just the certain window in the summer. There'll be like a small time when they can play. The rest of the game, the away games, they'll put them in the southern U.S. where they don't have that much snow. The only league that's really Canadian is the Canadian Football League. They have slightly different rules to the NFL. That's that's very popular in terms of markets, and especially sort of medium-sized cities like Saskatoon and so forth, and Edmonton. Interesting dynamics there. But in terms of like watching, for example, sports, people still watch NFL as if it's a local league. There isn't really the Canadian Football League doesn't have quite the same cachet. The Super Bowl, I think, is one of the largest watched events of the year. The only thing is that we don't get U.S. advertising. So when they go to commercial break, we get Canadian ads stuck in there, which is always a bit of a sad thing for Canadian viewers. And also recently, of course, Premier League has become really popular. Now it's accessed through the DAZN app. So in terms of companies, I'm not going to talk too much about the sports tech market itself, but just highlight some companies. So this company, Vox Neuro, they're based in Hamilton, Ontario, which is about an hour's drive from Toronto. So they have some very interesting technology because it's based on the CSO, 25 years of research in this field. He's a neuroscience at Master University, and they have quite a good healthcare ecosystem there with research hospitals and the university. And they've recently set up 2 certified clinics. So they're the startup taking that research into the market. And now they've got some revenue streams. They are looking to expand that network of clinics. And the key thing for them is brain. So basically understanding the brain, especially when there's been some injury or trauma. So when you what they have here, so they term it cognitive health assessment, and it's based on EEG based neuroimaging. And basically, it can give very objective and qualitative assessment of brain function, so it can accurately diagnose, for example, a brain injury, and also provide information for the correct treatment. So there are a bunch of technologies that can do that, but I think they have a pretty amazing technology based on 25 years of peer-reviewed research. And now they can look at many different types of brain activity, could be even for like Alzheimer's for the Asian population, but their key focus is on the concussion and brain injury market. So, of course, the Rugby World Cup was held in Japan last year. I'm a big rugby fan myself. I know Steve is as well. And so it's a great advertisement for rugby in Japan. It was a great tournament. And of course, more and more people, especially even kids, may start playing rugby because of that. But rugby, and I'm a former rugby player. As this type of sport, same as like American football, that type of sport. Of course, concussion, brain injury is a huge issue. And even in everyday life, people get concussions, and then they have to deal with that. So having a technology like Vox Neuro that can assess the concussion accurately, and then help with the treatment and get people back on their feet, back into normal life, that's really important. And also when it comes to other business interests like insurance, for example, that can be a huge factor for getting people back to work and off payments from the insurance company. So anyway, Vox Neuro would like to find partners in Japan, bring their technology there. So if there's any interest, I'm happy to make that connection. Another company that I've come across recently is this Sports Technology Group. So they have a smart athlete manager software. I'm not going to explain too much about that, but they are also interested in rugby in particular. So if there are any rugby groups out there listening who are interested in learning more about their software, be happy to make the connection. So Ray, who is one of the co-founders, is also the sort of the head of Launch, which is one of the Launch Academies. Right? So one of the top incubators in Vancouver. So there's also a good connection there. If everyone's interested in connecting, I'd be happy to make that connection. Breezy is a company in Toronto. They are located in one of the top incubators in Toronto, and they've had some success in Japan. So basically what they have is they set up cameras around stadiums, which can then you can direct the camera with your cell phone, and you can do selfies, and then you can post your experience at the game. So it's very much a fan experience game, but it can also there's some data around that can be done, and also in terms of sponsorship activity. So they have had success implementing this in a few different places in Japan, but the one that's sort of public is the Japan Tennis Open, Direct and Open, and you can see that they had quite a few unique users, 6,000 unique users there, and they also have a partnership with Canon that I think they formed that CES in 2019. Again, doing quite well in Japan, and looking for more partnerships. Myant is a company. It's not so much a startup, but I mean they have new technology, which I think is very interesting. And their technology is more on the textile side. So they're sort of what they term computing textile. So they basically knit sensors and into the fabrics. And so it can, if you buy clothing, or if they manufacture sort of linen or something for a hospital bed or something like that, then they can bring that the information about the patient to the nurse, for example, on watch. Now they have recently opened up this lab. It just happened a few days ago. It's Connect to Conquer, and it's focused on sports and performance of athletes. So they're looking to develop new technologies using their technology, and then I guess there's a trend towards virtual training because of the COVID-19 situation. But this gives more of a direct connection, because it's not just virtual, but there's actual sensors for the athlete that's training, connect to the trainer or other things like that. So I think that'd be very interesting. It's very new, this application. Mostly their technology is on healthcare, but I think this might be something of interest going forward in the sports tech world. And then this one, I just want to highlight this company in Ottawa. So Ottawa, the capital of Canada, is about 4 hours from Toronto, but they have the sort of the Center for Telecom in research in Canada. Huawei, Nokia, Ericsson, they all have R&D labs there, a long history of telecom development. And this company focuses on providing the Wi-Fi enhancement so that it can be done in a stadium. So when everybody's checking Wi-Fi at the same time in a stadium, their technology allows that to happen so that people don't lose power. So I think that would be very useful as well for large events such as the Olympics and things like that. So yeah, so anyway, those companies, those are a few ones that I've been connecting with. So I wanted to highlight those, because if there's interest, I can make a connection. There are other groups. There's the FSL, there's a Future of Sport Lab. So this is, I think Kubo-san mentioned Ryerson University as part of DMZ, but they have a number of incubators. This one's quite interesting because they're doing it in cooperation with MLSE, Maple Leaf Sports and Entertainment. So this I think is the largest sports group in Canada. And in Toronto, they basically almost own everybody except the Blue Jays, the baseball team. So they basically own the Toronto Maple Leaf hockey team, they own the Raptors, they own the Toronto FC soccer team, and the Toronto Argonauts, which is the CFL team. And they also own the minor league franchises as well. But they also are they do real estate development. They have sports bars. They do a whole bunch of different things. So they're very much on the business side of sports. And this incubator, it's not just for Canadian companies. I noticed that maybe half of them are by Toronto companies, but others are from the US, one is from Israel. But this is a great opportunity to work, in an incubator where they have direct connection into the industry. Now they do have they were doing a pitch event for the latest cohort. It was canceled because of COVID-19, but it's online, so there's a link there, and you can go see some of the pitches. So I thought that might be of interest. And then there's other networking opportunities. I don't know these events too well, but I think that this is just a first step into the sports tech market in Canada. But there's two events here. This one also was canceled because of COVID-19. They say they're going to do it in September 18th. I'm not sure if it's going to happen because I'm not sure that we're opening quick enough for that to happen. But maybe they'll have a digital version. But they do have pitches there. I mean, this is a private, I'm not specifically endorsing it because it's JETRO. We don't, do that generally as a government agency, but look into it. I think it may be interesting to see some of the talks and learn more about the sports tech industry in Canada. And there's another similar conference, STWS, and I believe that it's a series, and there's one in Japan as well. So maybe, Tak, maybe you know the Japan version of this, but they also have pitches. I guess their next one will be in 2021. And apparently there's going to be some digital content as well in 2020. So maybe, again, might be an interesting way to learn more about sports tech market in Canada. So to close off, Soundpays. So we're very lucky to have Steve Doswell, the CEO of Soundpays, come in and talk about his company directly. So it'll be a lot more interesting than the high-level view that I can give. And so, Steve, I'm going to end here, and I'll let you take over.
Okay, that's great. Thanks very much, Tyson. I'm just going to pull up a deck. Is everybody able to see that?
Not yet. Hit up your share screen, and it should pop up on mine. I'll be able to pull it up onto the presentation.
Okay, let me just, you know what, I forgot. Let me just try this here again.
Yeah.
There, this looks like I got the right place. Okay.
While you do that, though, it looks like the Canadian market for sports tech is very affluent too. It's very, very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would say it depends on the city. But Toronto, for sure, Montreal hockey team, and then depending on the city, but if they're very passionate about their team, right? So like CFL teams and things like that. So Steve, are you ready? You got it up?
Yeah, I think you can see this now.
No, I don't.
Not yet. I still don't see it yet. You're able to hit share screen on the bottom and then pull out the actual presentation.
I could see it there. So, yeah, so I'm clicking on share screen here.
Yeah. You click on share screen. It should show up as your entire screen application window or Chrome tab. I believe you got to go into the middle called application window.
Okay, I have it on entire screen. So,
and then pick the actual slide deck that you've got, and it should show up.
Seeing that now?
Still nothing here.
Yeah, well, like when I did this before, in the rehearsal, I clicked on the share and it shared it, but here it's kind of a dead. Let me just try this whole thing again here. My apologies.
Did you find the actual file, Steve? Did you see the actual file to click on?
There we go. Now it's popped up. She should be able to see it now.
Yeah, and I'm going to bring that on right there, and that should be us.
Okay. You can see it now?
I see our screen.
Wow.
But not.
It says it's sharing a window. It says.
You might have to get the window of the actual PowerPoint folder. There's a PowerPoint file.
It's very
Seems like you're
strange.
sharing
It says
our
stop sharing.
web page, but not necessarily your presentation.
Yeah. Nothing, eh? Like according to this, it says it's sharing a window. All right, I'll press stop sharing and go through the whole thing again here.
All right. This is the new normal, right, for COVID-19?
There you go.
Every webinar has one technical difficulty.
Yeah.
Oh, I've got another one. And then I'm gonna add that to the screen.
It seems, oh, no.
Yeah, and this is our broadcast. And then if you got another screen, there it is. There it is.
Oh, yeah.
Got it now?
And make that full screen. Yeah, you got it. And then here you go.
Okay. Perfect.
Right.
Okay. Thanks for your patience.
Of course, of course. Looking forward to it.
Let me, just a quick kind of summary. What we do is we enable advertisers and sports franchises to digitally connect and then engage with their audiences directly from their ads or broadcast content. So we do this in real time, so real-time connection with broadcast content, and then we do this through ultrasonic sound waves. So our technology applications go beyond just sports. So what I'm going to do is introduce the company first and some various use cases, and then I'll focus a little bit more on the sports market and some of the things that we're doing in Japan that Tyson mentioned or referred to earlier. Okay, so the key problem that we out to solve is that there's no way when people are advertising or broadcasting content that they can engage with their audience in what marketers call the power of the moment. And that's that few seconds when you're looking at something, you say, oh, I'm interested in that, or I'd like to know more about that, or I'd like to get that. And right now, there's no way to do that. The best you can do is kind of try to find a website and navigate, and nobody does that. So as a result, most advertising is very generic. It's just on branding, and it's not about actually producing a sale or engaging somebody right there. So it's in general, advertising is ineffective or inherently inefficient. It's probably a better word to put it, and it's difficult to measure results. And especially the attribution data where you're trying to understand how effective your ads were and what it meant in terms of sales or engagement from putting an ad out in front of a general population. So this is what we do. We say, okay, you see this sign, assuming you're interested in these headphones, this sign is actually radiating supplemental information on ultrasonic sound waves. So if somebody sees this and are interested, they activate our technology, which is in the form of an SDK, which we embed in third-party apps or wallets, and then it locks onto that sound waves, and immediately the viewer is given some sort of call to action to engage with the ad. It could be, sign up, register, request more information, enter a contest, vote on a poll, download a coupon, or in this case, you actually get a payment card. So you can purchase that product with a single touch directly from that screen while you're watching that ad. Okay. So what we do is we engage people in that power of the moment. We provide a new commerce channel. So you can buy things with a single touch, but you're not going to a website. You're buying that product directly in a direct-to-consumer commerce channel. It's obviously unattended and that you don't need to be anywhere near a point of sale or any hardware device or anything. It's truly mobile. And it provides a higher level attribution data because as soon as somebody clicks on information in the sound waves, that's logged. And we can report back to the advertiser which ad was looked at by which viewers at which times and how they wanted to engage with it or if they followed any of the calls to action. Okay, so here's a quick example of a sporting event in North American football. And what you see here is people opening up a Visa app with our technology. By flicking it up, they're listening to the sound waves coming out of that jumbo screen. The jersey that's up for sale is now easily purchased. So the idea is, just in the 30 seconds between plays, the star player makes a big play. The team tries to capitalize that by putting the jersey up for sale. And you now have potentially 50 or 60,000 people simultaneously purchasing that jersey in the excitement of the moment. Okay, here's a Parco Mall in an example in Japan. And this is people at one end of a mall looking at a screen, seeing something of interest. In this case, it's a Docomo app our technology is embedded in. Listens to the sound waves, pulls down a coupon. The coupon's now saved to the phone, and the person can now go to that individual store within the mall to get that. So it's the idea is now circulating people through the mall because they've seen items that they're interested in purchasing and redeeming that coupon. Here's an example on a train. And again, we recognize this case it's a banking app, activates the technology to listen to the sound waves, pulls out a payment card for that product. People buy it while you're sitting on a train with a single touch. Okay, and this is
never been done before. It's an experience that you're going to take back to everyone you know, share on social media. You'll be able to actually shop from the palm of your hand the product that is actually on stage.
So if you heard that, that was the Chief Marketing Officer of Roots introducing us at a live event where they're introducing a line of winter clothing. It's like it's a fashion show. And you heard him, he said, you can shop with the palm of your hand while the models are on stage. So as the models walk by, activating from the sound waves, you get now all the different products. And if you look at this young lady on the right, see now all the products that model was wearing. You can pick through the size, color, item, and now actually just purchase that product right when you're on stage. Okay, so that model walked by, there's the shirt, the sweater, the pants, the whole bit. So this is a multi-million-dollar event by Roots to promote their new line of clothing. And as they said afterwards, they sent us a letter saying our technology was the talk of the show and thanked us for elevating it to an entirely new level. So here's some other examples. You'll see the same technology, different use cases in live events. You see the rugby in the bottom right, TV. And then the Tokyo ticket sign there is actually an analog sign with speakers nearby. So people can engage with it, buy tickets. They think they're buying them directly from the sign, but the sign's really just a poster. They're buying it from speakers that are embedded in a wall close by to that. Okay, so we have a commercialization plan internationally. We look for licensees or major entities in each market to create an ecosystem of advertisers, content providers, app wallet providers, and the media channels, and pull that all together. A great example is Swisscom in Switzerland. They've negotiated an exclusive license to use our technology in Switzerland, and they've pulled together a whole group of train stations, sports teams, everybody else to launch it. Cadillac Fairview is another major customer of ours. It's the largest mall operator in Canada, and Roots Canada, a major fashion retailer in this country, which you just saw. And then you see we're looking with, again, some other big branded names to launch hopefully later this year in North America. So focusing specifically on Japan, these are the customers we're working with right now, or the prospective customers. And we've done POCs with all of them. And you see with Hankyu, we used some of the screens in Umeda Station in Osaka. Their employees used it. They were quite impressed that it works so well with such a hectic, loud, noisy environment. And we're now working on a next stage, which we'll talk about in a second. Yomiuri actually did the POC in screens in their head office, and they had different employees using the service and purchasing or actually entering contests and that kind of things. And again, they got very strong feedback from their employees. MX Tokyo broadcast on their TV station, and their employees used it to trial it out, and they reported back with great excitement that it worked perfectly on every single TV make and model, on every single phone make and model, and every location in their broadcast area. So one of the key things that we have going for us right now is, of course, COVID slowing everybody down, especially startups that are growing like us. But coming out of COVID, we have two great positionings that are really going to make a difference. And one is that the densities in malls, in stadiums, in stores, we're never going to be the same again. There has to be some sort of measured distancing. So the key now is, how do sports teams and mall operators, how do they keep the same amount of revenue with less people in their buildings? And of course, that's what we do. We allow them to engage and monetize customers that are looking at their ads from home or from a distance, or watching the sports broadcasts. The second one is remote payments. So right now, the model that we have of people crowding into a sales desk and a clerk is passing a point of sale device back and forth, the people are touching and entering PIN numbers, that has to change. It's not safe anymore for customers or employees. And that's what we allow. By using sound coming out of the point of sale device, people can actually purchase their products from in a store. They don't even have to be in the store, of course, but they can be meters, as we call it, away, rather than millimeters away from the point of sale device. So in Japan, we're putting together commercial launches with all of the entities I talked about. Thank you. We actually had originally planned to do it with one of their cinema chains, but they got closed during COVID. So we've been looking at other alternatives. But one of those divisions or group companies. Same with Yomiuri. We're looking at their TV stations, their travel agency, their entertainment division. They actually own a couple of malls as well. And of course, the giants. MX Tokyo will be both on their TV networks and their FM, and they're actually partnering with the Japanese streaming company to launch the technology on TV and streaming simultaneously. And Dentsu, which we're working with, is both their sports division and their Olympic 2020 division. And can't say a whole lot more at this time, but yeah, we've really caught their attention on a new way engaging audiences and selling tickets for Olympic events and that kind of thing. And our plan is, once we're successful in Japan, we'll use that success to expand into other countries in Asia. So here's our company. We're 5-year-old startup, or early revenue stage, 13 of us out of Toronto, Canada. We have won a patent awarded in the US, and we're actually expecting it to be awarded in Japan very shortly as well, and waiting for China and Europe to come in. Here's a quick snapshot of some of the team. And that's us. So hopefully that gave you enough of a perspective on what we're doing, and see how this technology can be used for sports associations, either live or broadcasting over TV.
So, Tak, are there any questions from outside? If not, I can.
Yeah. As of right now, no questions. I'll ask anyone watching the audience, YouTube, Facebook. Please feel free to comment below using your comment section underneath. And if you do, we will pick those up. And until then, Tyson, I'll give it away. We got about 6 minutes before we got to wrap up. But
yeah, well, I have a question for you, Steve, and it's more sort of about in terms of you've got a number of partners already, but if you were thinking of, especially in the sports tech world, or in any other market segment, what type of partners are you interested in working with? Obviously, like Yomiuri, similar companies, or are there any other areas that you would think that would be a good fit?
Well, I guess there's two requirements to our solution. One is somebody has to have content, either advertising or sports broadcast, or some content that we can utilize to put the ultrasonic information in, that secondary stream of information in. And the second side of it is to have the mobile app or wallet that we can embed our SDK in, which allows to listen to that ultrasonic information and pull it to the phone. So all the companies that we've been talking to, of course, are big in marketing, advertising, are big brands, spend a lot of money in advertising through their different divisions. The one that's a little more difficult in Japan is getting our SDK into apps or wallets that are widely distributed. So any of the points program that are using apps. Of course, Line is somebody we've been talking to, but it's a slow discussion. But anybody that has an app or wallet that's very widely distributed in Japan is of interest to us, because then people can use that same one, whether they're in a stadium watching it at home on TV, or in on a train, in a shopping mall, whatever. Of course, sports teams franchises are good because there's a lot of loyalty to them. And when you're in the stadium or the arena or the court or whatever, you're going to be having that app open and using it. And probably the same when you're watching it on TV. But you're less inclined to be using it when you're on a train or, in some of those other scenarios that we saw.
Yeah, I just saw Liverpool raise the Premier League championship trophy today. When they beat Chelsea, and it's some sort of occasion where I'm sure if it was easy, millions of people would just buy the shirt, the Liverpool shirt there and then. It's the sort of thing when you go to the store later, it'd be like, well, oh my God, it's $80, really? I don't know, that's quite expensive. But in the moment, like you said, I mean, I gotta have that shirt.
Yeah,
I can imagine. I was thinking also. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, it leads to the story that I bought this shirt or this, whatever, the minute they won the thing. That I didn't get it a week later or whatever. This was at the moment they won the championship. That's when this was purchased. So, yeah, that's a good point.
I can imagine also with that, when my 13-year-old daughter will have, see something on YouTube and wants to buy it, something that's being showcased. So there's lots of other applications as well outside sports tech. So I hope you can find some partners there. I have another question. We still have time for a little bit. This is more the other direction, and it's more about so we're helping Japanese startups to come into the Canadian market, and you're at the DMZ, which Kubo-san explained, one of the key incubators in Toronto. They have a YYZ program, which is specifically helping foreign startups to come into the Toronto market. They can easily help them set up with a startup visa, so it's quite easy to get into as an entrepreneur to get into Canada to set up a company compared to like the US, for example. But what advantages, like what at DMZ and so forth, why should they come to Toronto rather than just go to Silicon Valley?
As an individual to looking for work, you mean?
No, like an entrepreneur or a startup Japanese startup company would like to come into the North American market.
Okay. It's just interesting because we have been trying to hire Japanese-speaking people here in Toronto to help us, but we've come close a couple times, but never quite connected.
It could be individuals too, though.
Yeah, but for a company coming to North America, Canada, of course, is very much a gateway to U.S., and it's probably quieter and easier to develop products and maybe get some initial customers and then build that momentum before going down in the U.S. Of course, the U.S., especially in the startup areas, are very impatient. They expect immediate results, they expect immediate revenues, and then they forget about you. I find Canada's a little bit slower, gives you a little bit more time to get your feet underneath you and build the company going up. I also think Canada's a great attraction right now. A lot of people are a little skeptical about going to the U.S., and everybody's happy to come to Canada. So we have all the best talent coming from all around the world here. And, we just hired some great people. Neither of them are originally Canadians, but they came here to build a new life and a career. And that's been good for us too. The governments are supportive of startups. These incubators that you mentioned are great. They're very attuned to what startups need and how to help them. So I find it's just like my first startup was in 1994, and there was no help. Nobody thought about a startup. We didn't even use the word startup. We were just a young company. And the way everybody is in Canada has come around to helping to, coddle and create that, I think is exceptional.
Thanks, Steve. Awesome. I guess, Tak, we're running out of time, right? So
we're out of time. Thank you so much, Steve, Tyson, and Keiichi, Kubo-san. Oga-san, hi.
Hi, everybody. Thank you very much for your interesting
we're about to start our next session.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for your session. We hope to see you soon, and we hope for your great success over in Tokyo and Japan. Hopefully, we can all travel and see each other very soon.
Right.
And from there on, Tatsuo-san, I will stand the stage right next to you. I'm passing on the torch. and welcome the people from Sports Tech Tokyo.
Yeah. So now the time for Tokyo. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Arigato. Thank you.
じゃあ、小倉さんよろしくお願いします。
ありがとうございます。
はい。